There's a powerful misconception in the world of fitness that progress comes from doing more, chasing complexity, piling on volume, and constantly changing routines. But the truth, backed by decades of neuroscience, physiology, and real-world application, is far simpler and far more profound. The human body thrives on clarity, not confusion. Compound movements create the greatest neural and hormonal adaptations. This is not opinion, it is physiological law, written into the very fabric of how God designed the human body to move, to grow, and to overcome. When you engage in compound exercises movements that demand coordination across multiple joints and muscles, you are tapping into the divine symphony of your entire being. The body doesn't operate in isolation, and neither does strength. It is unified effort driven by intention, directed by discipline, and crowned by sacrifice. Every time you perform a squat, a deadlift, or a press, you're not merely lifting weight. You are awakening a biological storm. You are calling your nervous system to attention. The brain must fire rapidly and with purpose, sending electrical signals through the spine like lightning across a stormy sky. Muscles contract not as lone agents but as legions: quads, hamstrings, glutes, core, back, shoulders, all coming into alignment for a singular mission to overcome resistance. But it is deeper than movement. It is about hormonal transformation. These compound lifts unleash a surge of anabolic signals: testosterone, growth hormone, IGF-1. These are not just molecules. They are the messengers of adaptation, the sacred architects of strength. When you lift heavy with purpose, your endocrine system doesn't just respond, it roars. And that roar echoes through your body in the form of new muscle, thicker tendons, fortified bones, and sharpened mental resilience. This is the physical manifestation of inner intention. You train your body, yes, but you train your spirit too. Because every compound lift is a test of your will, your consistency, your ability to push through pain, doubt, and limitation. And when you rise with the bar on your back or the weight in your hands, you declare to heaven and hell alike, I will not fold. This type of training draws power from ancient patterns. The human body was not built to isolate. It was built to engage, to strive, to survive through unified effort. Compound movements awaken our ancestral blueprint. They replicate the mechanics of climbing, lifting, carrying, laboring. They remind us who we are and what we were designed to endure. In this kind of training, discipline is worship. Sacrifice is praise, and consistency is covenant. Each rep is a sermon, each set is a psalm, and the weight is your altar. You cannot lie to iron. It exposes the weak, but it also blesses the faithful. Those who show up with integrity, who move with intention, will find that their strength multiplies not only in muscle, but in mindset. Compound exercises demand your full attention, your total body, and your absolute resolve. There is no room for distraction, no margin for passivity. You step under that bar and everything else fades. It is you, the weight, and the truth. And truth always demands a response. Keynote 2, strength training should prioritize movements that load the spine and recruit full kinetic chains. The spine is the central pillar of human movement, the divine axis around which all motion and power radiates. When you engage in strength training that places intentional, controlled load through the spine, such as squats, deadlifts, and overhead presses, you're not just training muscles. You are aligning with a design older than civilization, built into your bones, encoded in your nervous system by the hand of the Creator. The spine is not just a structure, it is a transmitter. It carries signals from the brain, the seat of command, through the body like sacred fire along a holy path. And when you load it with purpose, you ignite that path. You awaken every stabilizer, every breath, every core muscle that holds your life together in posture, in pressure, in pain, and in perseverance. To recruit the full kinetic chain is to submit to the truth that nothing worth building happens in isolation. You cannot build real strength with fragmented effort. The body moves in chains linked systems of muscle and fascia, joint and tendon, breath and balance, all orchestrated by the brain. You pull, you push, you hinge, you squat, and every link must participate. This is not casual work. This is sacred effort. This is unity through resistance. Each joint, each limb, each contraction joins in a chorus that says, I am whole. I am ready. I will overcome. Movements that recruit full kinetic chains command respect from the body. They demand stability, coordination, timing, and effort that cannot be faked or outsourced. The feet must anchor. The core must brace. The back must support. The mind must engage. These exercises aren't random. They are righteous. They train you not just to lift weight, but to carry burdens, to move through life with control under pressure. And that pressure becomes a refining fire. It forces alignment, burns away laziness, and forges integrity in the unseen places of your being. You cannot cheat kinetic truth. Machines and isolation may look impressive, but only full chain movement teaches the body to move as one. That is how you build resilience that lasts beyond the gym. That is how you build strength that answers when life throws its own weight on your shoulders. Load the spine, recruit the chain, and you activate every system: neurological, muscular, hormonal, spiritual. This kind of training is not about vanity, it is about virtue. It builds your posture, your power, and your perseverance. It demands attention to form, reverence to movement, and humility to repetition, because when you move the whole chain, you train the whole man. Keynote 3. Fewer high-quality exercises enhance motor learning and reduce central fatigue. There is a sacred simplicity in choosing less but doing it with relentless excellence. In a world obsessed with more volume, more variety, more noise, the truth of the human body whispers something ancient and profound. Mastery is found in repetition, not distraction. When you focus on fewer, high-quality movements, you give your brain and nervous system the space to engrave precision into your body like scripture into stone. The neurons fire cleaner, faster, stronger. The patterns deepen. The motor cortex, that divine center of movement in the brain, begins to form a relationship with the exercise, not casual, not experimental, but covenantal. It begins to recognize the pattern, sharpen it, own it. Every movement you perform is recorded by the nervous system. Every rep is a message: this matters, this is who I am. And when you commit to fewer exercises, done with brutal integrity, your nervous system adapts not in chaos, but in clarity. You begin to move with power, not just from muscle, but from myelin, the sheath that wraps your neurons, thickening with practice, with repetition, with devotion. This is not just training, this is spiritual craftsmanship. You are building a temple, not of flesh alone, but of coordination, control, and command. And as you refine your movement, something else happens. Central fatigue begins to fade. The brain, that throne of decision and energy, stops being overwhelmed. It stops bleeding effort across 1,000 meaningless motions. It learns what matters, where to allocate energy, how to direct strength with surgical focus. You are no longer scattered, you are sharp, you are not tired because you are efficient, you have not wasted your fire on foolishness. You have preserved it for the altar. This is the power of restraint. This is the reward of discipline. The fewer movements you practice, the deeper they go. They don't just build your body, they build your brain. They teach patience, intention, and the art of doing one thing well, over and over, until that one thing becomes a weapon in your hands. Until your body moves without hesitation and your mind commands without fear, you don't need a library of exercises. You need a few, chosen with wisdom, executed with fire, and refined in the furnace of repetition. Because the goal is not to impress, it is to become unshakable. And the man who masters 3 movements will always be stronger than the man who dabbles in 30. This is not minimalism, this is divine focus, this is the path of the few, the disciplined, the unshaken. Keynote 4. The 3 chosen lifts, trigger maximal muscle fiber recruitment across major regions. There are movements so potent, so deeply aligned with the design of the human frame, that when you perform them with truth and tension, you awaken nearly every fiber the body has been gifted with. These lifts simple, ancient, undeniable pull from the deep well of physiology and power. They are not just exercises, they are tests, they are revelations. When chosen wisely, 3 movements can call forth the strength of the legs, the tension of the core, the fire of the back, and the press of the spirit. They bypass surface level training and dive into the heart of muscular command. They summon the fast, twitch fibers, those explosive soldiers of strength, buried deep and dormant in the body of a man who has never truly pushed. They activate the sloat, which fibers, the grinders, the endurers, the ones who do not quit even when the breath is short and the will is tested. Maximal recruitment means this: your body is fully awake. It means the signal from the brain does not merely suggest, it demands. The motor units, thousands of them, are not partially firing. They are in unison, roaring together with intensity and obedience. That is the language of real strength, not convenience, not comfort, but total muscular engagement, baptized in resistance and purified by form. These 3 movements, crafted through biomechanical precision and tested through generations of strength, do more than build mass. They build capacity, they awaken that which is asleep, they expose imbalance and demand correction. They do not lie. You can feel it the moment you execute them properly. The ground fights back beneath your feet. Your breath shifts from casual to sacred. Your heart beats not just to live but to overcome, and in that moment your entire system unites under a single mission to rise. The quads and hamstrings stretch and contract like cords of war. The glutes stabilize like anchors. The spine becomes a pillar. The core is no longer abstract. It is living armor. The lats, traps, delts, forearms all ignite. Even the grip is called to worship, holding firm, unwavering. This is what happens when you stop scattering your effort and submit to the few chosen lifts. The movements that demand everything from you give everything in return. They strip away illusions and leave you face to face with your true threshold. These exercises don't ask for partial effort. They demand your whole frame, your whole breath, your whole focus, because they know that deep strength, the kind that lasts, the kind that transforms, is not found in isolation. It is found in unity. It is found when every fiber answers the call, not some, not most, all. Keynote 5, consistent progressive overload rewires the nervous system for efficiency and resilience. There is a law written into the foundations of creation. Pressure produces growth. And when applied with precision and consistency, that pressure through the sacred act of progressive overload becomes a chisel that carves greatness into your nervous system. This is not just about lifting heavier weights. This is about stepping into covenant with a process that changes who you are from the inside out. The nervous system, that divine highway of fire and command, is not static. It is moldable. It is responsive. It is designed by the Creator to adapt, to strengthen, to become more efficient every time you ask it to do something just beyond what it did yesterday. And that asking, just a little more weight, just one more rep, just a deeper level of focus, that is how you rewire your being. With each session, your body listens. The spinal cord, alive with electrical fury, records every signal, every contraction. It begins to anticipate the load. It begins to reinforce its responses. Neurons grow faster. Motor units synchronize. Reaction times improve. Stabilizers activate sooner. The system becomes precise, clean, powerful, and this isn't chaos. It's order birthed through discipline. That is how resilience is formed, not by intensity alone, but by consistency through tension, day after day. Week after week, faithfulness to the pressure, because the body remembers the work, the brain records the pain, and the spirit begins to rise, rep by rep. This rewiring is supernatural in its simplicity and staggering in its depth. What was once unfamiliar becomes automatic. What was once heavy becomes light. The same nervous system that once hesitated now surges with confidence. This is divine efficiency. It is not about doing more. It's about becoming more. The man who trains with progressive overload is not just training his muscles. He is hardening his will. He is carving order into his chaos. He is learning the sacred rhythm of adaptation. Stress, recovery, growth. Again, this is the path. You begin to think differently. You begin to move through the world with a body that has been tested and a brain that no longer flinches under pressure. You recover faster, not just physically, but emotionally. You endure longer, not just in the gym, but in life. You learn that the same system that picks up a heavier barbell can also carry the weight of leadership, of responsibility, of spiritual warfare. Progressive overload teaches the nervous system how to respond to resistance with power, not panic. And when that lesson is learned in the flesh, it seeps into the soul. It becomes part of who you are. Keynote 6. Training less with the right stimulus increases adherence, recovery, and performance. In a culture addicted to excess, the discipline of restraint is a forgotten virtue. But in the divine architecture of the body, it is not volume that reigns. It is precision. Training less does not mean training weak. It means training with ruthless clarity, with surgical intensity, with reverence for recovery and focus on what truly drives transformation. The body is not a machine built for endless output. It is a temple, a sacred vessel designed to respond to specific signals, not noise. When you give it the right stimulus, deep, demanding, high-quality resistance, it answers not with fatigue but with fire. Because true strength is not the product of exhaustion. It is the reward of intelligent, intentional effort. When you strip away the fluff and isolate the essential, the body begins to thrive. Adherence rises. Why? Because the burden of complexity is lifted, the path becomes clear, the workouts become purposeful, not overwhelming. You no longer chase 10 goals in 10 directions. You pursue one aim with holy obsession, become unbreakable. This kind of clarity is rare and powerful because it's not built on emotion. It's built on design. Every system in the body, neurological, hormonal, muscular, cardiovascular, responds better when it's not drowning in constant stress. Fewer, deeper sessions allow the nervous system to recover, to adapt, to strengthen. Hormones balance. Inflammation lowers, sleep improves, the body begins to build, not break. Recovery becomes sacred. You don't waste energy, physical or spiritual, on meaningless volume. You reserve it for war, and when you step under the bar, your body knows it's time to fight. Every rep matters. Every set is an offering. There is no sloppiness, no going through motions, only presence, only power. And from that power flows performance, not short-lived hype, but enduring capacity, strength that shows up when life throws chaos at your doorstep. Endurance that outlasts storms, mental sharpness that cuts through distraction. This is the paradox of the righteous path. Less becomes more. When you choose only what matters and you execute it with conviction, the results are exponential. The body thrives under order. The mind flourishes under purpose, and the spirit awakens when it is no longer drained by noise, but focused like a flame on the altar of transformation. The goal is not just to train hard. The goal is to train true. And when you do that, when you stop worshiping volume and start honoring wisdom, you step into alignment with how strength was always meant to be built. Not scattered, not rushed, but forged, one clean strike at a time.